If this is your first time tuning in with Fight Night Picks, hey, we appreciate it. Toss the like and the sub, as you always need to say, at Craig Allen FNP on Twitter and Instagram, at Matt Allen FNP. We don't normally get into the formalities, but I do that to say this. We are a pro Ciryl Gane show, but we are also a pro Jairzinho Rozenstruik show, and we've been pumping these guys' tires since UFC debuts, but before UFC debuts. And I hate to say the tire pump, but for Ciryl Gane, this guy destroyed Canada. Like, absolutely destroyed hopes and dreams of fighters in Canada. And if you look at the way that he put on the pressure to Adam Dykes, so that's a fight that I go back to, a TKO, like that kind of ruined Adam Dykes' career. He comes into the UFC and just continues to wreck house. He beats Rafael Pessoa. He beats Don'Tale Mace. He beats Tanner Boser, Canadian. And he beats Junior Dos Santos in a fight where, you know, Junior's got the power and he's got the boxing. And Ciryl just in and out. Goes in for the kill. Again, did he ruin the Instagram game of Junior Dos Santos? Well, from then until now, yes, he did. Ciryl Gane is such a multifaceted martial artist. We've seen the takedowns. We've seen the submissions. We've seen the striking. You know how good his kickboxing is. But how good of a kickboxer is Jairzinho Rozenstruik? And how good is it translated into MMA? Because I remember the thing on him when he came into the UFC. Well, he's 76-6 in kickboxing. Wow. How is that going to translate into MMA? Beats Alan Crowder, beats Andrei Arlovsky, beats Alistair Overeem, loses to Francis Ngannou, beats Junior Dos Santos. For Jairzinho Rozenstruik, the big thing for him is not, well, you beat Alan Crowder and you beat an older Andrei Arlovsky. I mean, Tom Aspinall could do that too. I think Tom Aspinall's great. That's where I'm going with all this. But for Jairzinho, it was a fight against Alistair Overeem. I mean, he got the brakes pumped right out of him in that whole fight.
They're terrible.
Right until the end. He pulled a Derek Lewis. Right until the end, whoop-bam, and then he's able to get the win, whoop-bosh, as the waves go. And he finishes Alistair Overeem, sets himself up for Francis Ngannou, gets pushed up against the cage, and Ngannou goes full windmill, knocks him out. It's going to happen. But he doesn't, like, stay away. That fight was 9 months ago. And then, like, 3 months later, it's like, wow, this is way too soon to be fighting Junior Dos Santos. And he wasn't trigger shy. And he goes in there and finishes JDS too. So for both of these guys, you both finished JDS. You're at the top of this heavyweight division that now Blades has lost, Lewis has won. Does the winner get Derek Lewis?
It's
John Jones?
You don't really know, and this is the fun thing about heavyweight, and John Franklin had kind of mentioned it last night on the recap show. Make sure you check that one out. But there's a lot of fighters right now, and especially in heavyweight, where it just felt like the bottom of heavyweight fell out from under it. Like, there's all these sort of legends, if you will, even the Overeems. Blade's not a legend, but there's just all these guys in the top 5 and the top 10 who they're starting to age out or they're starting to lose. And there's a ton of really exciting young talent moving up. And I'm going to include Jairzinho in that young talent because I do think 32, kind of bordering on 33, is still fairly young for heavyweights. And same thing for Ciryl Gane. Like, he's younger than 31. He is still in his early 30s. As a heavyweight, you still have 10 good years ahead of you. Like, this is the start of your career. And that's what's so fun about both of these guys because I really do think I don't care if Ciryl Gane beats Jairzinho this weekend. I don't care if Jairzinho beats Ciryl Gane this weekend. Don't get me wrong, but I still think both of these guys can beat 9 of the top 15 guys out there. Like, I really think that the ceiling's going to be around for these guys. You're not going to see the end of Ciryl Gane if he loses to Jairzinho, and same thing vice versa.
How exciting is it to be an MMA fan right now where heavyweight, that's where the 35 and over club. You have Ciryl Gane, Rozenstruik, Aspinall, Dawkins, Boser. I can keep going. And these fighters aren't losing fights. Now, well, Boser has, but he's still around. So there's these younger generation of heavyweights that are coming in with more improved skill sets because it used to be Brock Lesnar had the wrestling. Frank Mir had the jiu-jitsu. Andrei Arlovsky's a good striker. Like, everybody was kind of good at one thing. Everybody's coming in here with good skill sets. Rozenstruik's a good striker, but his takedown defense is terrible.
So what I was going to say was, we're seeing a lot more well-rounded and more modern mixed martial artists now at heavyweight. Because, it was you basically said exactly what I was going to say. So, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I think, is the more powerful of these two athletes. And it's weird because Ciryl Gane, yes, a lot of his wins are by TKO. And then you look and you're like, well, no, they're not. He actually has a pretty developed ground game as well. But I really do think you have to take into consideration the guys who he was submitting in the UFC. Beating guys like Don'Tale Mayes on the ground, yes, it's a good win, but I don't think he's going to be winning against the elite by submission. We're not going to see Ciryl Gane go to his ground game often. When he does fight the Curtis Blades of the world, when he does fight those upper echelon guys, we're going to see a lot more of his technical kickboxing, which honestly for Gane is probably the best thing for him. He is in that weird category too, where you look at him and you're like, oh damn, he must be weighing in at the upper echelon of heavyweight. Not really. He is only about 250 pounds, and you're like, oh, 250. He moves like a light heavyweight, and that's the important thing. Ciryl Gane has the range of motion of someone a lot lighter than himself.
We gotta focus on this too, and I know somebody's gonna throw it out there in the comments, so I'm gonna be proactive. A lot of people say Jairzinho Rozenstruik is 6'2". I have to pull out the tape measure to see it because the UFC have him listed as 6'4". They have Gane listed as 6'4". Let's see them on weigh-in day to see where they are, but a lot of people say, oh, it's 6'2", it's 6'3" for Rozenstruik. Those are the numbers that I'm going off, just what I'm provided. But you're right. For Ciryl Gane coming in his last fight, 247.5. For Rozenstruik, 254. So you're not like, again, a Derek Lewis to 263. You're not like Greg Hardy to 265. Maybe we weigh in with the towel. Like, these guys are fit, in shape, and we don't really have to worry so much about the weight cut. For Rozenstruik and Suriname, holy smokes, is this guy throwing a heater of a superstar rise. And even with the loss to Ngannou, he's still a superstar. For Gane and French MMA, Fernand Lopez in the corner. You haven't had Francis Ngannou, who looks like he didn't leave on good terms. You still have Nasruddin Imavov that lost last weekend, but no shame, no shame. And they have a lot of great prospects as well. But Ciryl Gane in that camp there, they've really kind of figured it out. You talked about the Dontel Mace fight. You go back and watch that. Well, Ciryl Gane's having success on the feet. I would hope he would. But Dontel Mace is a classically trained boxer. You have success there, you take him down. And then, close to the end of a round, it's like, hey, we're going to go for a heel hook and we're going to get it. And I love it out of him. And then you look at the other fights that he has. The biggest fight for me, and I know this might sound silly because of his last fight, but throw that one out and focus on the Felipe Lins fight. Tanner Boser is a good fighter. The fight that Ciryl Gane had against Tanner Boser, you had to worry about, well, Boser's going to throw a lot of leg kicks. He's going to throw a lot of in and out and a lot of volume. Gane was able to match that and beat him in that game. And then he went out there and fought Junior Dos Santos, downloaded the game plan, and then maybe it took him a little bit longer than you would hope, but he finished him in impressive fashion. So for Gane, hasn't lost a fight yet as a pro. For Rozenstruik, came back, had that huge win. And again, you knock out Alan Crowder, you knock out Arlovsky, you knock out Overeem in the dying seconds of a 5-round fight. You like the experience from Rozenstruik.
I really do, and I like a lot about Rozenstruik in this fight, and this is kind of fun, because it's not that often. Let's just be honest. You like Ciryl Gane in this fight. I like Jairzinho in this fight.
I've never said that.
But I can see Ciryl Gane winning in a lot of ways. Like, this fight, I don't want to say it's the epitome of heavyweight MMA, because it is so 50-50, but these are two really well-rounded heavyweight fighters who can win this fight a lot of different ways, and the thing that worries me about Ciryl Gane is I know he has really good cardio, especially for the size of him, and it's weird. Again, we talk about someone who is built like him, who does weigh 250 pounds, super light on his feet, and that's what you really like to see, because again, you look at the heavyweight division, and even Jairzinho, who I would say is one of the better pure strikers in the division, he's more that brooding force. He is sort of flat-footed. He's not going to be jumping back and forth like a Ciryl Gane will, and what Ciryl Gane... The only thing that I'm worried for Gane in this fight is if he stays in the pocket a little bit too long. Because Ciryl Gane's never fought a fighter who's really made him go through adversity in the UFC yet. Every single one of his fights, yes, the Boser fight went to decision, but let's be honest, Ciryl Gane for the most part was in control of that whole entire fight. Jairzinho's going to crack him, though. And it's not like I think Ciryl Gane... Remember how people said this about Khabib for the longest time? They're like, oh, when he gets cut, what if he just goes crazy? It's never happened before. Listen, Ciryl Gane's not going to eat a clean shot and lose his mind and become a different fighter. But it is a talking point. Again, Jairzinho's fought better fighters than Ciryl, even though he hasn't always beat them. Francis is a better fighter. It's just he didn't win that fight. Ciryl Gane, this is his big chance. And I think they're matching him up with a good stylistic matchup for him. When I look at that top 5, I do think the best fight for Gane right now is Jairzinho. If Jairzinho cracks him, he's going to go to sleep. But if he is able to get this fight to the ground, not that I think, like I mentioned, Gane's going to use his ground game a lot against the elite, but this is the best fighter to take down in the top 5. And we can talk about, let's say, Overeem. He's got a good ground game. I don't really consider him elite anymore, but when you do look at the elite of the division, Junior Santos can't really take a punch anymore. Now you're fighting Jairzinho, who is an extremely well-rounded striker and a really good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have much of a ground game, and that at least is a wrinkle that we've seen from Ciryl Gane so far in his UFC career.
And that's the thing. I mean, I look at this, and I omitted, on purpose, the first fight that Rozenstruik had in the UFC. Well, he knocked out that guy that's fighting with random promotions now, Junior Albini, and Albini took him down a couple times. Overeem took him down a couple times. But again, Overeem was winning that fight until 4:56 of the last round. He was cruising to a win in that fight until he lost. For Rozenstruik, the weird thing is, if you look at that Overeem fight and all the fights, and this is a problem, if you look at certain fighters on this card, their strike differentials are weird. Mayra Bueno Silva is a perfect example because she got outstruck by Marina Moroz, and then in every other fight, they've ended very quickly. So you look at Jairzinho Rozenstruik, if you just want numbers on a page, his strike differential's a decent negative, it's a positive, 0.94. But the difference between his accuracy and his defense, 51% accuracy, 36% defense, he's getting hit, but he's winning fights, and he's winning them quickly. Little asterisk is that Overeem fight, where Overeem totally outlanded him until right at the end. Now, if you look in terms of total strikes, again, Rozenstruik has him, on total strikes, and that's it, but the significant strikes were for Overeem. Unfortunately, it was one major significant strike that busted him up, and then the flurry from Rozenstruik in that one. For me, though, that's it. The takedown defense has been somewhat tested, but not by Crowder, not by Arlovsky, not by Ngannou, and not by Dos Santos, because Bigi Boy just struck with them and knocked out the majority of those guys. I like the takedowns of Gane. I like the total overall game of Gane. I like the clinch positions for Gane. For Rozenstruik, his best opportunity is at distance. Gane switches stances very well too, and he invests in the kicks. I would like to see more low kicks out of Rozenstruik, but the thing is, he throws a lot of high kicks.
He does.
You like.
And exactly, that's what I was going to lead into. It's going to be weird because heavyweights don't throw kicks. Let's just be honest. Most heavyweights are sort of that wrestle boxer. A lot of them throw leg kicks, but you don't see many head kicks in the heavyweight division. We've got two guys who can get their feet up there quick, and this will probably be a primary kickboxing fight, and that is kind of why I'm leaning Jairzinho, if I'm being honest. I understand he's a big underdog, but for me, I think Ciryl Gane's camp knows what he's good at. He's a phenomenal striker. He's got really good cardio. He's got very fast hands. I don't think they're going into this fight thinking, okay, let's really work our wrestling when we do look at the other top fives, because from this point on, if you beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik, you're not getting an easy fight from here on out. You're fighting the Volkovs of the world. You're fighting all those upper echelon elite guys. And I'll be honest, I think Ciryl Gane will get there one day, but I do think he is going to have to suffer a loss and really work on his game. And I don't mean that as I don't like Ciryl Gane's game. I just think pretty much everyone needs to go through that one bout of adversity and then finally make their way back. I'm going to pick Jairzinho ever so slightly. I like his power. I like the fact that he can carry his power late, and that's something I know as a fact.
Yep.
But again, if Ciryl Gane does have success with the takedowns early, I expect to just continue going that way as the fight progresses. So I like the power and the hand speed of Rozenstruik. I can admit Gane probably has the more complete game out of the two, but I see this mainly being a striking match. I'm so excited for this main event, though. I'm more excited for this than I was for Blades Lewis. This is my favorite of the last three heavyweight main events that we've had.
Oh, I mean, this is one of the best heavyweight fights that we've had recently. We had Aspinall Arlovsky, we had Dawkins taking on Oleinik, and then we had that fight in the main event.
Overeem?
The trouble for Rozenstruik, before I give my pick, which Matt tipped my hand, rude. Rozenstruik's at 3. Do you fight Blades, who's coming off a loss? Do you fight the winner or the loser of Miocic and Ngannou? You're in a weird spot if you're Rozenstruik because of how top-heavy this division is. I would love to see the winner fight John Jones. I think that's not crazy because Jones is going to be inserted in here, and he's probably going to get the winner of the title fight, and then
Does the winner fight Volkov then, just because he did beat Overeem last week?
Maybe Gane fights Volkov if he wins. I'd say that's probably it. So for me, I like Gane. I like the complete game. If we look at the odds, Matt, again, I was kind of surprised when I was doing my research for this one because Ciryl Gane opened to minus 300. He's now minus 272. So the money is coming in on Rozenstruik, who opened a plus 250. He's now at a plus 216. If we have a look at the votes on Tapology, 868, 72% Gane, 51% by knockout for him, 22% by submission, 22% by decision. The 28% that have Rozenstruik to win, 92% by knockout. They do not have Bigi Boy really winning by any other margin. I've got Gane to win this fight. Listen, again, not the gambling guy, so I'm not going to talk about knockout, submission, round, all that. I'm just taking Gane for what it's worth. I think he's going to get the win here. Keep the O. You've got Bigi Boy in this one.
This is not a good example, but I think it is important. And go back to the Francis fight. And again, that's the fight that you don't want to talk about at all. But just remember, I know Jairzinho wasn't able to stop Francis, but think about that flurry. When Francis does come in wild, Jairzinho does the perfect thing you're supposed to do. He keeps everything down the center. Now, yes, he does back straight up. He doesn't back out an angle.
Just remember what Overeem did in our last fight.
But still, he's moving straight backwards, and he does land shots as he's moving backwards. The fact that Jairzinho can fight moving backwards and forwards, I think, is a really big X factor in this. Again, if Ciryl Gane wins, I'm finally on board. You're the conductor of the train. I'll hop on if he is able to win this one. But for me, I think Jairzinho is going to be able to win. But yeah, the winner of this should probably fight Volkov, I would say, and then hopefully the winner of that gets a title shot eventually. But right now, heavyweights, it's such a logjam that who knows what's going to happen.
Matt, I love this fight. We're split on the picks, but overall, with me going Gane and you going Rozenstruik, it sets us up great for question mark kicks. We've been different on some of these picks, but we sit in different rooms and write our notes in different spots, and we can be different on some of these picks. And hey, that's all the more fun about it. Let us know down below in the comments section who you're going with in this fight, but for the entire card, give us your picks for fight of the night. You can find some of the different odds and ends in the community tab on YouTube. As always, Twitter and Instagram at Fight Night Picks is the channel, but at Craig Allen FMP, at Matt Allen FMP. Hopefully you're enjoying the fights. And overall, Matt, it should be a great week. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.